And hello, everyone. Welcome to the WARPburg Infusion Entertainment Review. It's time for WAFER number 32. Somehow we hit episode number 32 already. It's the
Yeah.
last episode of 2021, or I guess maybe the second to last episode of 2021. Depends on when I can get these edited and uploaded. But it's the second to last one we're going to record for sure. Joining me, as always, by the way, I'm Thomas, aka MrWartburg, usual host. If you've been listening this long, you know who I am. Is my co-host Patrick, aka Mr. Fusion.
Greetings and salutations.
So for episode 32, we're going to be talking about the possibly, let's say that's the disappointing sandwich that is Hawkeye, Matrix, and Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
Because there's like a good first bite there, and then a whole lot of nothing after it. And some of it maybe even pretty bad.
What was that sandwich that KFC had? Was it the double decker where it was?
Yeah, like it's the one that on paper sounds. Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what's something on paper, whether like fast food or that sounds good, but then you have it and you're like, oh my god, I just like did this to myself.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
think.
our trio of
Yeah.
content sounds like right now. One of them's dope, which in this case is the chicken. That's Hawkeye. The chicken's dope. Using it as a bun, not so much, because the rest of it's just, oh my god, can I finish this?
Yeah.
And that's about where I'm at right now on Matrix and Book of Boba Fett.
Well, we've got a lot to dig into then, obviously.
So I think that appropriately sets the table for where we're going specifically with those three pieces. But before we get there, of course, we're over at live at twitch.tv/MrWartburg. We record these while we're streaming them. So any kind of major edits I can do after the fact, or at the very least pull down the stream. So if you want to watch that live, like being like our friend Chris who's in our chat right now, and give us your list that we're going to get to on our post-show / secondary recording, you can do so when we go live. If you're on YouTube, of course, we're also on audio services and any place else like that, which now Spotify has ratings, so definitely go rate it. Help that algorithm. That'd be dope in 2022 to actually grow this thing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, growth is not necessary at all. The point of the show is just for me to sit down with Fusion at least once every other week, if not every week, and nerd out over some dope shit.
Right.
Like that was the entire conceit of making this podcast. And for 32 episodes, 31 and now like 5 minutes, it's been pretty fucking good.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So, it's like in speaking of live stuff, this is why you're listening to something live, just reading Fusion in our Twitch chat. Well, at least he didn't call it a shit sandwich. That's true, because now we're past a minute on YouTube, so if it ever gets monetized, I don't have to worry about it.
There you go.
Okay, so Fusion, what have you been up to? It's been about almost 10 days since we recorded, I think actually to the day that we recorded our Spider-Man No Way Home talk. So what have you been up to?
Let's see here. Rewatched Shang-Chi, rewatched Cobra Kai to get kind of ready for things. And then I really spent last weekend just digging in and finishing up the Halo Infinite campaign. And I will tell you, man, that is probably one of the best Halo campaigns I've played from start to finish. Like a great story, the quasi open world, everything about it. But man, like I remember when you and I talked after the last episode, I asked you, I was like, how close am I to finishing? You're like, oh man, just a couple more missions, and you're there. Couple more pieces of cinematics, and you're done. Those couple more pieces, just like the fourth quarter of an NBA game, they lasted like 3 or 4 hours. Man, it was just brutal. Like time just kept going and going. But the story itself, as a whole, really good. Man, Jen Taylor's just something else. She is like under the radar, one of the best voice actresses in a long, long time because she plays Weapon slash Cortana, whatever those two roles. She manages to really change her tone a little bit to where you can really differentiate that these are two different characters, and but at the same time, like just the story she pulled, her just the echoes pushing everything through the entire
And
campaign.
Halsey too.
Halsey too, yeah. Just great job, man. Like I can't speak enough about what she did on this iteration. Just unbelievable. And we opened the book back up to the Master Chief Saga, and apparently this is opening up a new trilogy, if I'm not mistaken, or is this?
Well, I guess just a new place to tell stories.
Yeah. Well, a new place to tell Master Chief stories.
Hell yeah.
That
which
was the
I'm
thing.
I'm all about.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this campaign, man. I know we spoke we praised the multiplayer. So when you encapsulate just Halo Infinite as a whole for what we have now, both multiplayer and the first portion of the campaign, I really this was worth every dollar. This was also worth every delay because they really wanted to make sure they gave us a polished game, which they did. And I'm very happy to say that because every time it gets pushed back, you and I and everybody in your channel and in Discord, we would all make snarky comments, and in the OCC, oh look, Halo Infinite's been pushed again. These guys can't get their shit together. Oh wait, someone's left off the project. They can't get their shit together. But I will tell you, man, they were committed to this, and they gave us a really good game. Yeah, I really, I really enjoyed that. We like I said, rewatched Cobra Kai. Um, Book of Boba Fett, Matrix, No Way Home. I need to go rewatch No Way Home. Once school gets back in session, I think I'm gonna go during the weekday where it's when it's quiet, so I can watch it again. Just because, yeah, I went to the Draft House and it was a fun experience, but I kind of want to sit down in a very quiet, empty theater to be able to just really, really just kind of soak it in. I think a second viewing would really help out. Yeah.
Yep, like that's my plan is probably on the 4th, take a Tuesday and just $5
Mhm.
movie night. Maybe go. Maybe I'll go Monday when it's really dead,
Yeah.
and get some food on a Monday night. That's not a bad idea. Though that's Iowa's getting back to the Big Ten
But
play against
you have to
Maryland.
drive. You always drive out there to get a burrito when you go catch a film, don't you?
True. But it depends on when the showtime is. I can usually get the burrito in before I go.
Okay.
And then,
All right.
you have the 2 hours and change to digest, and then you drive home for
Yeah.
another hour because I live in the
Yeah.
middle of nowhere. But it's a movie I want to go see again. Maybe I'll do
Yeah.
the closer theater, which isn't as nice, but still decent. Uh,
Mhm.
I do Premier Pizza. It's a place that multiple presidents have eaten at, actually.
Multiple presidents.
Well, it's
Wow.
Iowa, so like it's first in the nation caucuses and stuff. So like
That's true. That's
they
true.
got they still keep there's only like so many booths that are original to the place anymore because
Mhm.
it's been remodeled a bunch. It's to keep up with like newer ovens and stuff. They have to, right? But they had Clinton, Obama, I think Bush. I think both Bushes have eaten there. Um, I don't think his dad was president though when he hit town. I think that was after Clinton got elected. But yeah, like they've a bunch of people have rolled through Algona and like Premier's the place to go, and it's still so fucking good. But especially the breadsticks, fuck, they don't reheat worth a shit when you get them hot and fresh. Fuck yeah, great spot to go before movies. Anyway, back to content. Halo
Yeah.
Infinite
Back
was
to
dope
content.
as fuck.
Yes, it
Like that
was.
is the best Halo since Reach. Period.
Yeah.
And I think Reach is the complete package. Like, and we view it as the complete package because you remember all the maps and all the map packs. Gaming as a world was different in 2009, far
Yeah.
different. Like it was more complete at launch, but that's the case with everything, right? Like every game is more or less broken at launch. Period. Like that's just making multiplayer now because gaming's so big. There's so many more players in 2021 than there were in 2009. Like it's an entirely like the number of console sales dwarfs what those were,
That's
right?
fair.
Like Xbox is like losing to PlayStation 4 is kicking the shit out of 2009 Xbox. Like it's not even a contest, right? So like and keeping up with that state of play on the multiplayer side, keeping things fresh, keeping things balanced, keeping things stable is so goddamn hard. Like never been harder. Just because of the sheer numbers, and it's pretty good outside of the weird big team battle shit where they can't get it to like function,
Yeah.
which I think a part of that is how they're doing their party systems fucked up. If they can get that nailed down, best multiplayer since Reach, if not 3, because it feels so fucking good. Like yesterday, I grapple hooked a skewer, smoked a dude. Coolest moment I've had in video gaming in years. Like it was incredible. It was the last shot in the skewer too. Couldn't reload. Turned around, pulled out the shotgun that because we were playing Fiesta. Clocked a dude. It was incredible. It was one of the most fun moments I've ever had in gaming. That's what Halo can do, and that's why the series still works really really well. So Rhoda, I'm gonna go ahead and say like we're talking this. Why are we doing this on a Friday? It's a Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday.
Oh,
right?
dude. Yeah, you're right. I thought it was he Rhoda just completely just threw me off for a sec. He just completely come on, Rhoda.
That's doing live content for you though. Sometimes chat just really fucks with you.
Yeah, Rhoda, you're killing me today. You're killing me.
Yeah, I'm looking at chat trying to run a show and it just sometimes breaks my brain. That one
Yeah,
really did. That one got
yeah.
me. Okay, but
See,
speaking of
see,
holiday stuff, how was Christmas?
great, man. Just kept things really low key this year. I think with just with the Omicron variant out there, and didn't want to really jump out, because being immunocompromised, I didn't want to kind of put myself in a bad situation. So wife and I and the dogs just stayed home, kept it really low key, and we ordered dinner, and it's actually kind of funny because I was gonna cook, and this, I'm the big barbecue cooking guy in the house, and I had this whole spread lined up, planned out, and the day before, my wife was like, you know what, you've had a really long year. Why don't you let's just go out to eat? Okay, fine. We were gonna go to a steakhouse, and then she didn't feel good on Christmas Eve, so she's like, "Let's just order the to go steakhouse to go." A little nervous about that, but man, it was good steak, man, really good steak, and so yeah, did that. She makes me these M&M Christmas cookies every year that my mom used to make them when I was a kid. You'd get the recipe on the back of the red and yellow, red and
Oh
green
yeah.
M&M and the original M&M recipe. So she has that. So every year she makes those, and the recipe, like she really doesn't. She's not good at cutting down, like halving the recipe. So she just makes what the recipe gives you, and it makes up to 4 dozen. So
Oh my
I have
god.
four. It's just me and her. So I have 4 dozen cookies. After about two and a half, I tapped out. I'm like, let's just throw these motherfuckers away, dude. Like, I'm gonna die of like a sugar overdose or something. I'm gonna fall into a diabetic coma. So yeah, just hung out, man, and watch Die Hard. Gotta watch Die Hard. Watched, let's see what else have we watched. Watched Elf, and actually, my boss's sister has a movie on Netflix called I think is it Love Hard? Yeah, Love Hard. They came out a few weeks ago. So she actually wrote that film. So watch that as well. So yeah, just kick back and watch a lot of Netflix, man. How about you?
Pretty much same. Uh, yeah, similar issue. Had way too many desserts. Still do. I think we still have couple half pans of bars,
Oh
about a
man,
couple dozen cookies left over, some stuff that's in the freezer. We had so much like in the pans and containers on the counter. It was like halfway up the next row of cabinets. Like it was just a mountain on the
I'm
cabinets.
I'm curious, how many bags of sugar did you guys go
A
through?
lot. My parents, my sisters, my grandma, my aunts, they don't know what like portions are. Like they don't know, what it is to not be an unhealthy person, right? Like even
Yeah.
my aunt who like does ragbri and is one of the most, insanely fit people I know. She brought this like Cool Whip with caramel and Oreo and graham cracker crust with chocolate pudding. And I'm like,
Oh,
this is diabetes in a pan, and I've got all these cookies and fudge and molasses cookies and more bars and cake and scotcheroos, and oh my god, it just never ends. It was 2 full tables of just desserts. It was nuts.
no, man, I'm glad that I don't have kids because I can only imagine what type of like we would be buying and baking, and it'd just be full of like we have candy here for Christmas because I go and buy the big bags of like the holiday kisses and holiday Twixes, and they fill up a candy dish, and I go and grab them while I'm working all day. But I can only imagine just like having all of that if we had kids, and I'm like, well, I think I could survive, man.
Yeah,
Seriously, seriously, like, yeah, I'd want snickerdoodles. Oh, if the kids want snickerdoodles, my wife loves cheesecake. It's just like, ugh, there's just so much there, man. But we had I had a great steak from Longhorn Steakhouse. She had a really good chicken fried steak. So yeah, man. I mean, this. I mean, just being in this part of the country, from north to south, like you said, we don't know about portion control. Every single plate out here is big, right?
yeah,
If you go to the coast, they like really like one slice of pizza is their lunch. We get like 5 slices.
no joke.
That's our lunch.
Worst
But
pizza I've
yeah,
ever
man,
had in my life, Washington, D.C. My
wow, really?
professor took us to this artisanal pizza place. It was bread with just tomato paste. It was
Oh,
disgusting. And you got a slice. and it was like going to a stadium absurdly expensive. Like
Oh,
it was awful,
okay.
like
So I
terrible.
gotta tell this
So
story real quick. So in our honeymoon, we went to for our honeymoon, we flew out to the Bahamas and we stayed at an all-inclusive resort, and they had an Irish, quote unquote, Irish bar on the resort. We go in, of course, me getting beer, and when you're at a pub, you want fish and chips, right? If you're a Brit, you want fish and chips and a pint, right? They didn't have fish and chips; they had wings, and I'm like, okay, let me have some wings. And the our waiter was like, you don't want our wings here. I'm like, why? He goes, we put them in tomato sauce. I thought he meant like a red Tabasco red sauce, right? I'm like, no, it's fine, as long as it's not too hot. He goes, no, they put them in tomato sauce here, like tomato sauce, and they don't season it. It's just tomato sauce. And I'm like, so I ended up getting a shepherd's pie, but so my wife was daring enough to order them and just sort of like, come on, it's all inclusive. It's already paid for technically. So she orders the wings. They bring them out, and I'm like, holy shit, they really are just wings in tomato sauce. Talking about that just brought that up, that experience. We can talk about the pizza thing. That
I,
man,
on a
yeah,
culinary level, like I get the tomato paste and like really like doing like specific ingredients on like pizza. Like if you're trying to like break it down, like almost like gastronomy, right?
sure, sure,
I think it's
sure.
stupid, but I get it.
All
I
right.
don't get tomato sauce on wings. Like, what are you trying to do?
I think they probably Googled what buffalo wings look like, and they're saucy, and they just didn't know how to make that sauce, which is
You
weird because you could
just
just
buy
order
it.
you can just buy buffalo sauce, right?
Yeah.
Uh, And it's not like the Bahamas are like 100 years behind in terms of like just culture. I was very surprised about
Yeah,
that.
like you would think like Caribbean jerk seasoning or something on wings, you know? Like
Yeah,
that's what I would assume. You'd be looking at kind of like it'd be a drier wing, but it'd be good. Yeah,
we need
that's
to talk.
bizarre.
We need to do a food episode because I can tell you like
Oh, I got ideas.
the best kung pao chicken I've ever eaten was in San Francisco.
Okay.
A
I have
Chinese dish.
ideas for 2022. Don't get me
All
wrong.
right.
I've got ideas. I got whole ranking episodes. It's going to be a good
Okay.
time. But before
All
we
right.
get to 2022, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the meat of our episode.
Let's
And
go.
none of these tangents, like, I can't, like, we just had a whole tangent on food. Welcome to the show, people. That's what we do. But
Yep.
it's time we talk about Hawkeye. We're going to start with the thing that is universally good first before we get to Matrix Resurrections and Book of Boba Fett. So if you're watching live, we've got a couple viewers here. Uh, if you don't want spoilers, please check out because I don't want to spoil anything for you. If you're cool with them, please stick around. That's awesome. And we'll get into the Matrix and Book of Boba Fett later. So to start with, Hawkeye, episodes 1 through 6. It was a 6 episode run on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Fusion?
This needs to have a season two. I think I really liked the way they wrap things up. Okay, so super excited about Vincent D'Onofrio. Um, Bummed that we didn't get to see Daredevil. We both called that, and there were
Wasn't that the rumor? I swear there were
yes,
rumors, but I'm misremembering the timeline of what was rumored about No Way Home and what was rumored about Homecoming because they
yeah.
were in
See,
production and reshoots at the same time.
yeah. So there were rumors. Okay, so we knew for a fact that Charlie Cox had filmed something for No Way Home. We never heard anything about him filming anything for Hawkeye. What we had heard is that they were going to bring back important characters from Daredevil, and part of that was going to tie into Echo, and logically we thought, okay, well, logically Echo is Wilson Fisk's daughter. I mean, niece, so it makes sense to have we're going to see Kingpin again. Okay, fine, but it also opened up, hey, well, you know, we're talking about bringing Daredevil into the MCU, like in wherever it may be, whether it be in all the films and all the TV shows, whatever we're going to do, or have his own show again. But we also heard from a really trusted rumor site that really nails a lot of these things, that he was going to play a big part in Echo, and to do that they were going to set him up at the back end of Hawkeye at some point. So you're right. We heard these rumors, and it was a big missed opportunity because I think with Echo we're basically just going to jump into her maybe the first episode of her show next year, and then at the back end of that episode we get introduced to Daredevil. I'm assuming that's how we're going to have, that's how it's going to go down. But I thought that there should have we should it just felt a little the final okay, last episode had fun, enjoyed it. I think the battle though was missing a little bit, and that little bit was Daredevil. Like because those two, Kate and Clint, did their best to kind of take on the whole tracksuit. Was it tracksuit mafia or
Yeah,
tracksuit mob? The tracksuit mafia. Um, they did their best to take them on, and there were some silly moments. I think that I think that they really didn't know how they wanted to go in that battle because you could have had Spider-Man cameo. You could have tied in the final shot of No Way Home into that scene. It would have fit perfectly at this point. You could have had Daredevil show up. There were so many things you could have done to really cap it out, and instead we get the conflict with the Tracksuit Mafia, and then the quick conflict with Yelena, which ended up becoming a therapy session. It was kind of weird. So but it wasn't a miss. I just think that maybe I think that they really didn't know where they wanted to go with that. Like if we have Spider-Man swing by and do a cameo, or if we had Daredevil show up, are we taking away too much from Kate and Clint's story? Are we
that's where I
taking
was
away
gonna go. Like it
too much
is
from Yelena?
Hawkeye,
Yeah.
you know.
We're taking too much away from Yelena's connection to Clint. Okay, that's fine. And I'm gonna say this because it's a big spoiler. Clint's wife is not Mockingbird, guys. They're trying to kind of make a mesh of things within the MCU, and that's fine. But she's not Bobby Morse. No, she's not. Let's get that over with. They didn't destroy or retcon Agents of Shield with the Watch at the back end of that episode. They didn't do any of that. They kind of just they're what they do in wrestling. They kind of leave teases at the end of each pay-per-view or whatever to kind of lure you into the next show or the next story. This is what they're doing here. They're kind of laying the foundation for you to keep following and seeing what's going on. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun. Bummer that I didn't get to see Daredevil. I was really hoping to see him. I do want a season two, though. I think we need a season two. And like you mentioned, sidebarring with me, we do need to see an episode where Kate and Yelena have an adventure together. We need
Exactly.
that.
Like for my
Their
money,
their chemistry was great.
y-
They were
yeah,
just hilarious.
that's note
So
number one. Like they were perfect together, right?
yeah,
So I actually don't know if they are going to fully retcon her, but I could see her having been like the Mockingbird is a code name, and
okay,
she was the first one, and then Bobby Morse was the second one.
that's fair. No,
Because she
that's
is
fair.
at least in the timeline a little older, his
Yeah,
wife, compared to where Bobby Morse would have been. And of course, things get weird with the blip in the 5 years, and who knows, right?
yeah, yeah.
But I would love to see Adrian Palicki at some point come back as Bobby Morse. That'd be fantastic. Or I
I thought
guess,
she was. I
or
thought she was great.
oh, she was fantastic. She was one of the best parts of what was that episode? That was season two with the whole Shield, real Shield thing with because it had Edward
Yep,
James Olmos. Are you kidding me? Ah,
yep.
what a great season of TV that was. Edge of your seat shit for network television. That's hard to pull off for nerds, and they nailed it.
They nailed it. Yeah.
But their chemistry, Kate and Yelena, was fantastic. For me, and they left off a lot of threads you can go with. Like they never really explained Jack's backstory. Like
That's true.
clearly,
That's
dude knows how to fight, and
yeah.
like so he's gone through some shit. He's on the outs with his criminal family. Why is he actually a good guy? Like who knows? In the comics, he's a character that goes back and forth.
Mhm.
Is because sometimes an anti-hero, sometimes an outright villain. Sometimes he's been a part of the Avengers, right? Like or West Coast Avengers, I guess. But like, do they loop him into a season two story? Because you got to have him for an episode. Um, so like I'm imagining it's training on the farm is the first episode. Like they're on the farm, she's getting trained by Clint and his wife, who's
Yeah.
and training how to actually fight. You know, you can have maybe Kate be like, "Well, Yelena kicked my ass. How do I beat someone like that?"
Well, I think what his wife's character. And I'm sorry. What is her name in the MCU? I
Is it?
forget.
I can't remember. I'm
I
struggling here.
always. I love. I like Linda Cardellini. I do, and I always forget what her name is. Always forget. That aside, I think that her character, based off of how we've been shown
Laura
throughout,
Barton.
Laura Barton. Thank you. I think how we're gonna get shown is that she is more the master strategist versus like the fisticuffs. Like she may be the one that teaches Kate how to be more be more of a thinking hero, you know, because Kate really doesn't have that. She's so excited. She once she gets the ball rolling, she really doesn't think too much and then she screws up, you know. I think that Laura Barton's going to help her rein that in and help her to really think or create like a process, a strategy. And you know, that's where I can see that going. Where Clint is just he's the fighter, he's the guy that's helped her. You know, her archery skills are already top notch, but then she needs to obviously learn hand to hand combat because she suffers in that regard. So, um, or you know, they could surprise us and it'd be Laura she turns out she's a great swordsmith. You know,
Yeah,
like
that'd be dope. But
yeah,
then the B plot of that episode of on the farm, she's getting trained, right? Is Yelena having some mission go wrong and she's like on the run. And
yeah,
then the cold like the fade to black is her showing up at the farm because of course she'd know where the Clint lives, right? Of course she'd be able to figure it out, right? And then you go episode 2 is and this is maybe Laura, well, his wife, being like like kind of kicking her out, but like like hey, you should go like actually do the thing instead of just sitting on the farm for months without a
yeah,
job and not paying rent. Like that
yeah,
kind of like playful, like yeah, seriously, get the fuck out, kind of attitude, and just to kind of push her. And then they go have their mission, and they're gonna need help, like maybe getting smuggled across the country or whatever. Elena, all her contacts are burned. Who do you call? You call Jack.
yep.
And have him come back into the story. And I don't know who the villain's gonna be, but they need to have more stuff together because they were so fucking good. Like just start to finish, they were amazing.
I think Valentina Allegra can become the quasi bad guy of season 2 of Hawkeye,
Yeah,
leading into
or it's
Armor
Power Broker
Wars or
or
Power Broker.
whoever. Like there's a lot of pieces that are left on the table here.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Because especially with the Power Broker, maybe we get an appearance by Bucky, you know, showing up
Yeah, or
because
U.S.
he's
agent shows up.
U.S. agent, you know. Like I think we're gonna start dipping into a lot more of these crossovers on Disney Plus. So yeah, I'm excited to see. I think there should be a season 2. I wish this would have been a 10 episode season. It really like this was good, very well written, great cast. I think that we can dip in a lot more, but then at the same time they wanted to get Book of Boba Fett started. Really, they're so set on making sure that they stay with that schedule at the back end of the year for Star Wars. So, but man, like it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we start talking about next year She Hulk, Moon Knight,
Yeah,
Miss Marvel, like where we're going to go with those guys.
yeah. Any other thoughts on Hawkeye?
No, I mean it was fun. Like I said, wish I saw would have caught Daredevil, but I have a feeling we're going to see him. We're going to see the red suit very very soon.
Oh yeah,
Very soon.
fuck yeah. Plus, Kingpin's not dead. No way.
Okay, I do have to ask this a question about Kingpin. Were you a little frustrated that he was a little buffed
Well,
or
he's
no?
different. This is I
So it is
D'Onofrio
different.
is like, I think it's the same, but D'Onofrio is admittedly not a huge comic head.
Yes, true.
Like the concept of the multiverse and like playing a similar but slightly altered but relatable enough character. Not
Yeah,
that it's like over anyone's head or anything, but it's kind of tough to get your head around, I imagine, as someone that's inhabited both versions. You know what I mean? Like certain actors revel in it because they understand, like, oh shit, this is the multiverse. Time to go ham. Some guys
yeah.
get that, like Tom Cavanaugh on The
Oh
Flash.
yeah, yeah.
He
He gets
fucking
it. Yeah,
nails it. He
yeah. He does.
understands the objective, on both on camera, which D'Onofrio did because he was awesome again, but like also in interviews, talking about stuff, like talking about it to fellow cast members in interviews or to the interviewer and thus the audience. Dude gets it. He gets everything about what the Flash, especially in the early seasons, was trying to do, which I
Yeah,
loved. Part of the reason why the show was so good back then. But it felt like a different character, and this is where now that they're opening up that multiverse, Pandora's box, Feige and company are going to have to be more opaque about. No, this is X Earth. Like he's from. This is we're on Earth X. This was Earth X. Like they're going to have to delineate it on and
yeah.
label it of this is this. They're this. Like audiences get it. Like everybody knew going into Logan, it's a different X-Men universe than the Prime universe. Like they were very open about that.
Not the casual fan though. The
No, but
casual
like
fan was
they
with it.
like and the casual fans don't care about shit like this.
Yeah, they don't.
Right?
They
They
don't.
don't.
It's
But like
convoluted for them. They don't
they
care.
were the director, Jackman, and I think Feige too at the time. Well, no, Feige. This would have been Marvel at the time. But when he was starting, they were like, "This is different than that era of X Men. It's close. It's similar. It's like an alternate what could happen future, and just a cool story. Like
Yeah.
that was what they pitched it as.
I think it was Avi Arad that said that too, right? He
Yeah,
had
like
pitched it
on the
was like
producers, on the
it was a
director
different
side.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like everyone was like, "We're taking these things and just going a specific direction. They could take them and go a different direction down the line. We don't care." This
Yeah.
is where we want to go based off where we left him with the Wolverine.
Well, and comic book fans understood because the Old Man Logan that became
Yeah,
popular was an alternate universe story that they ended up folding him into, the 616 for a time. But yeah, I get what you're saying, and it didn't bother me because I mean, it's a comic book story. I've seen so many people die and be
yeah.
resurrected, so
Like the
it doesn't
audience, the
bother me.
casual audience knows this shit.
Yeah.
Like the multiverse isn't gonna break anyone's mind, right? Like we've all lived through like the last time I can remember the audience like truly having one of those eye opening moments was The Matrix. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
audiences they've caught up on this shit because sci-fi has been shoveled into us for in like big AAA popcorn movie ways for 25 years now in ways they
25.
didn't used to be. They used
Yeah.
to be the cheap things nobody watched. They would have made for TV shit, and now it's no, this is the premier shit, you know? And so people are going to be fine, but Feige and company need to be like, "No, no, no, no. The Netflix universe is just close, very close, but slightly different, and it's a different universe." Because in the Netflix universe, all that stuff predates the blip, and we don't know what happened. That's too many boxes to check off to to morph them into the current MCU.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm okay with it. It doesn't bother me at all because, especially with Kingpin, because his story in season 3 of Daredevil, there's no way that dude would be getting out of prison. Like
No,
it's
there's no
just
way he's out of prison and Charlie
doesn't
Cox is not on his ass. It's
exactly,
Daredevil. No way.
exactly.
So it's got to be different, and they just need to say it. Don't leave it up
Yeah,
to the actor to be like, I think. Just say it. Like, just put this is what it is down
yeah.
as your Kevin Feige or whoever is going to make that decision in Marvel. But just say it publicly.
Now,
And
there's the other thing is that these Netflix shows they may get briefly tied. There's like this explanation may be tied up in maybe loose ends that are tied up in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness because we know that there are going to be a lot of cameos in that movie, and they could easily have it to where Strange jumps into the Netflix MCU briefly.
yeah,
Just he's like,
rumor is
oh yeah,
one of the cameos is a fucking Inhuman, and it's not Chloe Bennett. That's
yep.
stupid.
That's really dumb. And two, the other cameo is allegedly, um, a Fox property that I don't know how to think. I don't know what to think about that. I really don't. I get it. It's fan service, but I think I like it puts me in that place where I'm a little worried about that movie. And we could talk about that another time. But I've said it before. That
And again,
movie, that
I was
project
worried
was.
about No Way Home creaking under its weight, and it did not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But John Watts is a hell of a director.
That's true. That's
But
true.
so is Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi's a good director.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, he had a certain Spider-Man 3 that was
Yeah, but
not
you know how that
entirely on
goes.
him because that was
That was
Sony.
like that was Sony just bearing down on that man.
Yeah, like that was just a clusterfuck all around.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on.
So that's my thoughts. Love the show, man. Love the
Yep.
show.
I think I agree. I think it's the most consistent of the Disney shows. The Loki's emotional stuff was fucking heavy. Like,
Yeah, it was.
plus it helps they have that just like epic, like melancholic Asgardian like score from like they nailed that out of the gate in Thor 1. That theme
Yeah.
it can be triumphant, it can be like dire, like destructive consequences. It can be super sad because it's got the strings. It's awesome. And Loki, like the show just nailed how to use that. And man, like those moments where he's like watching his arc play out and watching himself
Oh
die.
my god. Wow.
And you see that no, he doesn't like you see him like play like, oh, I'm, seeing this to make sure I don't die. Like you see him be like, no, I'm just that guy. And
Yeah.
it all happens in like 30 seconds for him.
Yeah.
Like
Hiddleston was just Hiddleston
is
was phenomenal
incredible.
on that show. He was phenomenal on that show.
Yeah,
Just
like
just amazing.
the highs of Loki were better than the highs of Hawkeye,
Yeah.
but that finale fell on its face.
Yeah,
Like
it did. Yeah, it did.
it really did. But that's why it's when we get to our episode 33 on our post show on the live episode. That's why it's not cracked my top 3. Loki didn't, but it was close. If the finale had hit, it'd have been close. But Hawkeye is a better show for me. So that's where I'm at thus far on the Disney Plus stuff.
Okay.
Oh shit, I didn't even have on my on my what did I watch list total. I didn't even have Falcon and Winter Soldier on my list. That it's completely out of my mind.
Man, it just I don't know, man. That show just slapped different. It just did. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
again, now that I'm thinking of it, great fight scenes,
Yeah, great fight scenes. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not enough Bucky being Bucky. Oh, that's
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
anyway. Moving on, we're gonna move on to another, let's say, disappointing part of my list, much like Falcon and Winter Soldier, The Matrix Resurrections, a movie that I could not sit back and watch 2 hours of and go. I couldn't help myself from asking, why does this exist? Why? I don't understand. Like I get financial property, they need to work, make money, right? Like it's a business. But like what was the point of this movie? There was so many
Oh man.
so much cool shit in this movie that is just oh hey, it's resolved in 3 minutes and we're moving on, never going to talk about it again. What the fuck? Like the point that what made Matrix so good was that it sat on its central conceit to the fucking end.
Yeah.
Like on what is reality. What it all the way through that permeates that. I don't know what the message of this movie is. Like what is its central question?
So quite a few people have brought this up in the discussions about just the Matrix in general and how the original movie a very was a trans message, right?
Yeah, I
Coming
can fully see that. I don't
like
empathize with it myself because I'm
yeah,
not, but I
yeah,
can
but the
see the argument.
Wachowski brothers at that time were dealing with something that one of Lana was the first years later to go through a couple years later to go through transition quietly because I remember after the first Matrix came out, it was a phenomenon for that lasted like 2 or 3 years, right?
Yes.
And she was pretty much a non-factor in meetings and interviews and like events. Like she wasn't around. And then I remember the internet, there were stories like, hey, starting to see things, and people were digging into research online, finding out that changed her name to Lana. And then okay, well then all of a sudden it's like, all right, it's out now, so I'm going to admit, yes, I'm Lana, I'm transitioning to to a woman. I don't think there was much backlash from that, even at 99 early 2000s. A couple 2000 what 2 I think is when that happened.
Although I'm sure
I
there
don't
was more behind closed doors we don't know
there was
about,
yeah there, at that time, yes, a
especially
lot more
given
behind.
Hollywood just
Yeah,
itself, let alone what it was
yeah,
back then.
yeah. But I mean, publicly there wasn't it wasn't like a big deal, right? I think when Chris Jenner announced his transition, I think to Caitlyn, I think that was more of a bigger deal. But it's also that they were more of a pop culture
Yeah, and it
phenomenon
was
than
also her
yeah,
choice to push it publicly.
yeah. So I hear this. I see this idea that the first movie was this in the closet trans message, and when I look back and think about it and rewatched it actually right before Resurrections came out, I can see that, and it didn't that's not the impact it gave me. It gave me a different message, but I can understand that, and I'm like, hey, I get it. What I felt with this one, and I know Lana basically said this was a love letter to her family about her coming out, right? I get that, and I get that they're trying to do that to keep that message as the foundation of this movie. The problem with it is that to execute that, you have to have much more centered approach, and it's not a centered film. Like it is so meta that it actually like the first 45 minutes of the movie are so meta, it actually kills your buzz. It really does because it's for me. It was like I tweeted it out as soon as I started watching it. I'm like, holy shit! This was the one thing I was worried about that you and I were worried about they were going to do with this movie, and they're going there. You know, they're going there. Now they course correct about almost an hour in, but I
That's
don't know,
I
man.
differ. I think
Okay,
that was the
okay,
coolest theme was
okay.
the Morpheus character.
No, no, no. I'm not talking about Morpheus. What I'm talking
Oh,
about
you talking
is
about the game side of it?
the game side of it's being so meta. Time Warner is coming down on us for, Tom Anderson wrote the Matrix trilogy and everything we know about the Matrix itself, the whole entire mythos is a video game that Thomas Anderson created in this movie, right?
Well, that's what the
And
Matrix is telling Neo.
I know, and I know that, but you got to admit you were a little worried
A
about
little
30
bit.
minutes
I
in.
just think
Well, 30
they
30
left
minutes
so much
in,
shit on the bone.
yeah. But
Like
30 minutes in, you're like, okay, are we?
like when are we
Oh
gonna get to some
shit!
shit?
And then finally, you're like, okay, we're at 45 minutes. Okay, and then when you find out, like when you see, what is her name? Bug? Is it Bug that
Bugs, yeah.
Jessica Bugs? You see Bugs and Morpheus show up. You're like, oh, thank God! I was getting a little worried here. That's how I felt. That's how I felt.
I agree. It took too long, but it was partly because they couldn't figure out what lane they wanted to go with.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, are we doing it about Neo, rediscovering who he is? Are we doing it about saving Trinity? Are we doing it about the nature of consciousness with the Morpheus character?
yep, 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 yep.
Or are we doing it about
Now,
the state of the world in Zion and Io? Nah,
yep.
there's 3 minutes and we're moving on. Like,
So yeah, that's the big thing. And then the other big thing was going to this new place and learning it's been 60 years and you have Niobe and you get caught up on the storyline, but also there's a rift now because she doesn't want their universe disturbed. And so basically you're like, wait a minute, one of the most defiant personalities in the first three films is now
totally different, and we don't see
totally
why.
different. Yeah, we
We're
don't
told
other than
why.
yeah, what there had for her to just say, my line of thinking has changed because I'm supporting protecting this city." Uh, there had to have been something monumental in her life, and hey, maybe it was the fact that she and Morpheus never really resolved their relationship, and there was always a rift, even though they wanted to be together or whatever. And then when he passed, tragically, if he passed, then that really broke her. Okay, well then that helps me understand why we're with this Niobe, right? Other shitty part I hated about this, I was done with Agent Smith, and I get why they brought him back because it's fan service, but like we've established in Revolutions that he was completely removed from the Matrix. Why are we bringing the character back? Oh, because we have a swerve for you. He's actually going to help. I really didn't like the Smith character as well. Neil Patrick Harris's character, the architect slash analyst now, I was okay with him. Um, I just I felt like there was just so much missing in this movie, and I
Yeah,
think that they were really trying to find a way to be the first film but different, and I don't think they stuck the landing on that at
I don't think
all.
they properly jumped.
You'd think they never even okay, they never even got off the diving
Partly
board. Okay,
because, again, like this
okay,
is I could not get this out of my head. They introduce that the Neo part of Thomas Anderson, is
yeah,
trying to escape and
yep,
can't. So what he does is use old Matrix code that he knows prior to the new Matrix that's been built around him. He knows
yep,
this old Matrix because he's the
yep,
anomaly. He's the one. So he
yep,
basically builds it inside this new Matrix and makes Morpheus. What they could have done is have him also make Smith because part of him knows, oh, Smith's just gonna break shit.
yeah,
Like Smith's gonna wreck this shop. But he also makes Morpheus because Morpheus is a manifestation of like his best self. Like he's the
yeah,
one that woke him up. You use Morpheus, the Smith analog that gets created would just kind of be off in the ether doing its own thing. We don't see why. Maybe we see him, that's who finds Merovingian and kind of lets him escape later, right? Or that, and then he shows up at the end again. And that's all we see. He's not a part of it. He's not the developer friend. He's just this like cipher in the background, not a real part of the story. And you leave him for later stories too, because then you got the concept of like Neo basically fighting his son, right? Like that's totally different, a
yeah.
different way to take that character, and you can get around the making this actor act like Hugo Weaving and failing.
Yeah,
Like,
it
you
was not
totally get
good.
around that,
Yeah.
you know? So, but and then you use the Morpheus character as the face of the movie. He's the one trying to find Neo. He's going through Morpheus's arc in the first movie, but through a totally different lens. He knows he's not real. He knows he's an AI. Having him come to terms with he's got the memories of Neo of Morpheus. You know what I mean? So he understands who Morpheus was in this world and how to living up to that legacy. And then actually have him meet Niobe, have her like freak out about meeting this new Morpheus and what does it mean, and have him realize, have through him she realizes Neo's not dead. Like that's what makes her believe he's not dead.
Because you're right. Now that I think about it, she sees this AI'd version of Morpheus in the real world, and she just kind of throws it off. Like it's not even a big deal to her.
And that should have been like
It should have been.
Morpheus's legacy should have been, if you're gonna leave him dead, his
Yeah.
legacy should have been the bedrock of the movie.
Yeah.
Like that's what grounds the world around Neo to have people do the right thing to save him. And then you have him break out and do cool shit at the end, right?
Yeah.
Like then you
So
do that.
so we get the explanation of their in we both called how this was going to go down. As soon as they died in revolutions, the machines took them and resurrected them, right? They repaired his eyes, they gutted them both and fixed them, whatever, but they realized that they have to be attached together. So my question now is, are we establishing now that anyone can be the one?
I think it's
Because
more that
Trinity's
she's the
now
one
more?
of the new Matrix. He's the one of the old Matrix.
Okay. Okay.
You know, and
But they both can exist as anomalies within this framework.
yeah,
Okay.
you know, and I think again, it was a case of just doing too much in one movie. Like,
Yeah.
I would have loved it to be the reveal at the end. Neo does all this incredibly cool shit, but you have the director or whoever the analyst or whatever, Neil Patrick Harris, being like, "Well, you're not really the one," and we don't. He doesn't say who it is. They don't know who it is, but you have Neo figure it out, and that's when you cut over to Trinity in the pod as he says her name, fade to black,
Yeah.
and then the sequel is saving her.
Yeah, it felt like a little rushed, right? Like we go from this 45 minutes of is this
Yeah,
are we
like
so
the
meta
for an
to
hour
we're
it's
no,
save
yeah,
Neo, and then it's oh, and also Trinity.
yeah.
Like here's
Let's
another third act.
yeah, we're gonna go back to we're gonna go to the new city, spend a few minutes there. We want to go back to go save we're gonna risk everything to go save Trinity. But it was so fast in that regard, but it was so fast, but it was 2.5 hours. It's like holy
Yeah,
shit.
it was too much. Like
Yeah.
just a 2 hour movie that's really just that nature of consciousness, Morpheus's legacy, plus saving Neo. Bang bang boom. Say it's iterative. I don't care. It would have been a good time. This was not a good time.
And
Not
I
for
do
me.
have a complaint. I do have a complaint here, and anyone watching or listening, post, or as a replay, Jessica Henwick was not very good in this movie,
Oh, are you
man.
kidding me? I thought she was fantastic.
No, I did
The only
not
problem I
like.
had was she couldn't figure out an accent.
I felt that she was talking way too fast because in the beginning, when she releases Morpheus, she's talking at 100 miles an hour, and I'm like, how the fuck am I supposed to understand what's going on? I actually had to stop, go back and re-listen to understand her because I thought that I did not
That's
like
an
her
issue with
character.
direction
Yeah,
because that's
that to
just an
me,
issue of pacing and direction. And
pacing and direction. I just really felt like when she awakens Morpheus, the
yeah,
program,
again,
um,
so
it
cool,
just
and they do nothing with. Like,
they do nothing with it. It's like,
oh, come on.
yeah, like this is such a pivotal moment. We've established that this is Morpheus. He's an AI
And
within a
you're introducing
system.
that the AIs can be sentient and good. Like
Exactly,
like the birth of that. That's so cool. And then they do nothing.
nothing with it.
Frustrating. Very
Yeah, I
frustrating.
agree.
But I mean, Jessica Henwick, I like her as an actress. She was Colleen Wing, right? In Iron
Yes,
Fist.
yes.
She was the best part of that show. Period. Right?
She's one of the better supporting actors on that. She's for
Even
those
in
two
the
seasons.
Defenders
Yeah,
too. Like she's great
yeah,
there. But
yeah,
again, there's just so, and she was the only one that really felt like, oh yeah, I could see a character like her in the original movies.
yeah.
She was the only one that felt right in that universe to me.
And it's possible because, like I said, just watching the very beginning, I just felt like she was talking 100 miles an hour, and I'm like, something just doesn't feel right. I mean, it's nothing on her because she's a great actress, and but at the same time, I just something didn't feel. A lot of things just didn't feel right with this movie, and I'm not. I'm I'm sure if I go back and rewatch it, I won't be as critical, but at the same time, I think it's just there was a lot of disappointment because you're talking about resurrecting, literal, pun intended, resurrecting a franchise that the first film was just groundbreaking. Like
Yeah,
it paved the way for so much in terms of like superhero movies because they were able to tell the stories and go deep into like ideas and concepts in sci-fi that other movies hadn't been able to do because sci-fi movies before that were like, hey, we have to keep with this formula so the casual moviegoer doesn't fall asleep, doesn't get bored. Instead, we were like blown away, like that scene where in the first film where it's the reveal of what's happened with mankind and we're batteries. It's fucking it wasn't just Neo that was about to blow his head blow up. Everybody in the theater was like, holy shit. I remember being in the theater and like the people around me were all like, what the fuck is going on? Wow. Like this is not because we talked about this. The trailer gave none of this away. We thought it was just some
and like,
action movie. That's
yeah,
all.
like it was just dope action, and then it was mind bending, like philosophy plus dope as fuck action. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It just I think that in the beginning of the film, and I didn't have a real big problem with her when they got to the real world because maybe there was a shift in how they were approaching her character. I don't know, but we left so much on the table. And you're right, man. This felt like maybe two and a half films rolled into one, where you really could have ended it at one point, have the second chapter, and you could have started working on the third of a new trilogy based off of so much here, and I really think that they were trying to squeeze so much in here because they didn't know if they're going to get another film, which we know they are.
yeah, they were gonna do it
Ah,
without Wachowski anyway.
yeah, they were, and they're talking about a Matrix show on HBO Max. So
Again,
now it's like, what are we going to do here?
that
Oh
actually
man,
sounds cool though. Like, I would have been way more into that before any of this Matrix Four shit.
only if they wait till Westworld is
Because
completely done.
they nailed, like, Westworld season one was dope, but they nailed Watchmen. Like,
They
if
nailed
you can
Watchmen. Yes,
nail
they did.
that,
Yeah,
ooh, I'd want to see a similar level show about the Matrix. I'd have
and
been
we
fucking in on that shit.
my other really big complaint is we just gloss over the whole fact that 60 years before peace was struck, and obviously there is a rift there with the machines and the human world. There's some rift there because they plugged in Neo all over again. They rewrote Agent Smith within their system. Like it's like what's going on there? I need to know, why is there a rift between man and machine? Because I know that there was peace. That doesn't mean that they were gonna live harmoniously, but it's like it just feels like, okay, so basically the machine said, okay, you could go live in your holes, and we're not going to bother you, but you're not going to be able to come back out to the world, come outside anymore. I don't like that. To me, I need more of that story, and maybe that's why I really love the Animatrix. I don't know if you ever watched it, man, but
I've
oh
seen
my
parts
god,
of it.
the Animatrix is great because it tells all of these stories leading up to Matrix Reloaded, and I think Animatrix is just great stuff. I mean, of course we had EDM throughout the entire
Yeah,
movie, but all of these short films with different art styles that tell the stories, and I like that they spent two chapters of the movie talking about the war, and the rise of the machines. Right, that was really important to me because it really they shows that they really wanted to expand the mythos here. And I just think that, hey man, we really just jumped into this, and just we left a lot of things unanswered, and it felt like these were questions that should have been answered in this first of what could be a new trilogy. Like these are things that need to be answered instead of some of the other stuff they touched on. And yeah, I
yeah.
just
And
I
before,
wasn't very happy, man.
yeah, and before we get to Boba Fett, which I'm less critical of because it's still a work in progress.
Sure,
I have one last critique of the Matrix Resurrections, which
go
was
for it.
some of the fight sequences were Arrowverse level bad. Like the fights against Merovingian and his like weird cohorts that look like the
Oh
Rufio, the Wild Boys from Hook.
yeah,
Like,
what was that about?
what the fuck? Arrow put out better shit than that. Like on
Yeah.
bad days, like that was I couldn't tell what the fuck was happening. Like if you say nothing else about the second and third movies, their fight scenes were dope as fuck.
Yeah, they
Like
were.
even now, the stuff where the CG doesn't hold up, still
Mm.
awesome to watch on YouTube. Like I will go watch those just the fight sequences on YouTube. I'm not gonna watch this shit like ever again,
Yeah.
which sucks because Keanu's awesome, and like you neutered Keanu. Ugh, that might be the biggest sin. They neutered Keanu, and like that sucks. But anyway, let's move on to Book of Boba Fett. We're a little over almost an hour, about 55 minutes ish of
Yeah.
the main episode here. The Book of Boba Fett, episode 1 dropped yesterday. We're recording this, I don't know if I said at the top of the show, on the 30th, New Year's being tomorrow. So, what were your thoughts on Book of Boba Fett, chapter 1 of the Book of Boba Fett?
Um, hey, we got Jennifer Beals. I was very surprised to see her in there in the on the
Well,
show.
she didn't even
Um,
know it was the Boba Fett, apparently. Like, that was the
she
interview.
didn't know, really? Are you
She
kidding
was
me?
like, I
Oh,
knew it
that's
was a Star Wars project. She thought it was Mandalorian. She did not know it was a Boba Fett show at all.
that is awesome. Jennifer Beals is a 80s treasure. Um, man, I think I got a little spoiled with The Mandalorian and with um the animated show
Rebels, Clone Wars,
Clone Wars.
Bad
No,
Batch.
the Bad Batch. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. I got a little spoiled there with what Filoni and Favreau were doing with things, and I think I had a little bit of a higher expectation for Boba Fett. That said, I appreciate that they gave Patton Oswalt the writing credit on this episode because his Parks and Rec
That was
rant
so good.
was he got to live, and because he is a big
Oh, he's a huge geek.
fanboy. He's a fanboy to the highest order. I'm sure he probably was crying watching this episode, the beginning of this episode. But look, we got a 38-year-old question answered, which was how the fuck did he get out of that Sarlacc pit and what happened since then. Okay, that's great, we've answered that. Other than that, I think the fighting scenes in Tatooine were a little weird. Like, what was the point of that? And I don't know. It's just yeah. I'm sure we're gonna find direction with this story, but I'm a
But
little lost at why are we doing this story? Like, what's the point of it?
it's the pilot. Like that's supposed to
Yeah,
answer these questions.
it's supposed to. Did you feel the same way?
100%. Like
Okay,
it was
okay,
just a huh. It was about 47
yeah,
minutes of just huh.
yeah. Just okay, all right.
Like they're trying to clearly set up a nonlinear story with the background with the Tusken Raiders and how he survived on Tatooine,
Obviously,
leading up to the Mandalorian season 2.
which is a 5-year gap, by the way, from Return
Yeah.
of the Jedi to the
So
Mandalorian. It's about 5 years.
a lot of ground to mine there.
Yeah, yeah,
But are we ever going to find out why he wants to be the crime lord?
yeah.
Like we need to know that at the jump. Why does he want to do this? What is his motivation for doing the thing? I was hoping we were going to get a hook at the end, like those Tusken Raiders get wiped out by Jabba's troops or something, right?
Yeah,
Like some kind of hook to explain this vendetta and this
yeah,
mission for him. So far, we got jack shit. And like one or two good shots of Boba Fett doing shit, like when he's like bringing down the hammer on the guy. That was
yeah,
cool. Plus the suit up scene was cool. That's about it. Like don't get me wrong, there was some other stuff that was just it was all right, like the taking on the monster and the getting out of the Sarlacc pit. But the Sarlacc pit alone could have been a whole episode, like or half an episode of like flashbacks to him. Like basically, you got to Gears of War it, and you got to chainsaw. Like remember chainsawing the worm's heart in Gears of War 3.
yeah.
Like, you basically do that to the Sarlacc, but with Boba Fett. That sounds like the makings of a pretty fucking awesome flashback episode. Instead, it's just done in like 30 seconds. Punch out of the sand, credits, like title screen. Just seems like a whole lot of wasted space so far. Maybe things all come back together, and things make more sense later on. But if you're going to structure a pilot this way, you can't have a weekly release. You need part 2 right away. Like Hawkeye did 1 and 2 back to back, and it worked really, really well. as an opening night of a show. This did not. And part of me wonders, is it just because the two main characters that we have so far, Fennec Shand and of course Boba Fett, are they just better as secondary characters?
Um,
Is that
I'm
type of
gonna.
character arc, the badass assassin slash bounty hunter, are they just better in the background?
I think so. I think the Mandalorian was a little different because one, Pedro Pascal does a really good job of kind of being silent but still making you wonder what emotions going on inside that helmet. And two, we had Grogu, which
Yeah.
everybody got attached to Grogu, right? Um, and Cara Dune,
And that
that's
was a
the
more
other
of
one.
a story of the week, like,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
show. Like it's a different type of show.
yeah,
Whereas this is going to be like a crime show, and we don't know why he wants to be a crime boss. Like
yeah.
we don't know the motivation for why he wants to do the thing. Like Breaking Bad,
Um,
we know why he's cooking meth is because he's got cancer.
yeah.
Like that's right away they deal with that. So we don't know the why from the pilot. That's a big no-no, at least for
Mm,
me.
and I will say this, like I like Ming Na Wen.
She's awesome. She's one of the
She's
coolest people
great,
ever.
but I think that her characters that she plays the dry character very well, right? Um, you're right. She's obviously a secondary character, as Agent May and Agents of Shield. She was great, and she fed off of Phil Coulson. She fed off of him very well. I think here the problem is that we've established that Boba Fett is a very dry character too. And didn't it feel weird when he would try to make little jokes to kind of lighten the mood with her? You just felt like it's a little awkward. Yeah, it's just because it's like we have two very kind of stoic personalities leading the show, and
And we don't know
obviously,
why he's
yeah,
questioning her.
yeah,
Like we don't know their relationship really
yeah,
beyond what we got in, Mandalorian 2. Like, and they were amazing there,
yeah,
but they were amazing in service of the overarching story.
yeah.
Like they weren't the point, though Boba Fett coming back was. Again,
I
same
mean,
director. That episode where he puts the armor back on and is wrecking stormtrooper shop, same director as this. That was
yeah,
Robert Rodriguez too.
yep.
That was one of the greatest episodes I've ever watched of TV. Like that entire sequence is just edge of your seat. This might be the coolest thing ever. Action, and this is what we get for the pilot of that guy's show. That seems weird. Like it doesn't match in my head any level of the expectation I had going in.
So if it were Mandalorian, a new season of the Mandalorian, where it was a 10 episode season, both characters played secondary to the Mandalorian himself, but then they get their own episodes throughout the season, a couple here and there. I think I would have been happier with that versus what we have now.
Yeah,
It's not bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad. I just think that there's nothing really here at this point to draw me in. You do an Ahsoka Tano show. We know, you and I both know what we're going to be waiting for, where she's heading, right? We
yeah.
both know where she's heading. Obi-Wan's TV show, we know where that's heading because there's
It's
two.
by nature, it's a self-contained story.
Yep. But we also know the end game for both of those in that um, um, Maul's going to have to make an appearance and Anakin or Darth Vader is going to make an appearance. Okay. That's
Oh,
fine.
speaking of Maul, the Rodian was voiced by Sam Witwer, the prisoner
Was it?
Rodian. That was Sam
Yeah.
Witwer doing the bleeps and the bloops.
Oh,
Yeah,
huh, I did not know that.
and he, of course, he voiced Maul in Clone
Yep,
Wars and Rebels to
Clone
great
Wars.
effect.
I just like for me, it felt really slow. It just felt like these characters don't really lead, and maybe that'll change in episode two. But you're talking about Boba Fett, what very little because remember, this is a character that was beloved by so many people that had very little screen time in the original trilogy. Let's be real, like the his legacy was on just a few minutes when you
And
really
and
think about it.
toys,
Yeah, and toys.
because you could shoot rockets.
Everybody loved the Boba Fett toy. Oh my god, I remember I had it, and I remember everybody wanting to take it from me when I had it as a kid. Um, I think, but what we do know, he's a very dry character. Yeah, we knew we were getting this because his dad clone Jango Fett wasn't exactly Mr. Personality in the prequels, so um, I just can't be shocked, but maybe something will maybe something changes with the character, but it would have to be a very big shift, for like a big
Like
jolt of
if they'd have been the
personality.
setup that he knows the mayor, like have him his trek with the Mandalorian, has changed him, and like he doesn't want to maybe be a good guy necessarily, but he's done with letting people get screwed.
Yeah,
Like he knows that Bib Fortuna and the mayor are like working together and fucking over everyone on Tatooine, and
yeah,
have him to be like, fuck it, they gotta go, right? Like that kind of story I'm in for, but I don't know what kind of story we're getting.
yeah.
And that's a big miss. Like out of the gate, nobody knows what the like in a bad way what the fuck's gonna happen next.
I crack up because it was in the Mandalorian, not Book of Boba Fett, but somebody online tweeted out like, what is it about Tatooine that everybody keeps getting pulled into that stupid planet? Like, what is it about that planet that keeps pulling people back to it? And I think we need to have something more about the planet itself. Let's 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 dig in there and figure out why it's so important in the Star Wars mythos.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, we need to know why.
Well, part
Um,
of it is it's a direct ripoff of Arrakis from Dune, but
yes, yes, yes.
that's
I
part
know.
of that's a pretty
It's
big part of
part
the
of it.
reason.
Yeah, that's yes, I know. Um,
But I mean, hey, if you're gonna rip off something great.
this is what, 8 episodes,
7.
six episodes, 7. Mm,
I honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this about a Boba Fett show. I don't know if I'm gonna make it all 7 if this is where we're
yeah.
going.
If episode 2
Then
doesn't
again,
have a big shift
Mando
and
episode
mood,
1 was rough. Like it had some dope
yeah,
shit, but like we didn't really know what was going on until you see the child and then their show begins,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
other than that awesome bar scene where he like cuts the dude in half with the door, you know, all we know is he's chasing a bounty, and
Well, and
that's it.
I think that first episode we were so focused on we're getting the actual aesthetics of Star Wars right once again.
Yeah,
I think we
like
were so focused because you and I were both like, "Holy shit, Favreau!" And they're doing it. They're actually doing it. They're doing what fans want out of Star Wars, And the
yeah,
set pieces are traditional. Okay,
yeah.
let's go. But when you really think about it, that first episode
I
wasn't
mean,
very
there's just not a
good.
lot. There's not going on setting wise, like table
No,
setting.
no.
This has the same problem, but it's a shorter shelf life.
Yep.
I don't see this getting a season 2. I don't think they plan to.
No.
Because Mandalorian's coming. This feels like filler for next season's Mando because they had to wait with all the COVID production and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if there's anything that makes me want to come back next week already, and it's Boba Fett, and that's sad.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that's tough.
that just basically
Ah,
sums up my thoughts on the show.
yeah, I saw people tweeting out today like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." I'm like, "Is it though?"
Well, you
It's
definitely didn't see what Drew Magari, whatever fucking his last name is.
no.
Guy who runs Defector or was on Deadspin.
Drew Magary,
Yeah,
Drew
Magri.
Magary,
That's how you say it.
Drew
That's how you
Magary.
say his
Yeah.
name. But
What
yeah,
was
he
he? What
wrote
was
he wrote for SF Gate. It was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
oh
Never
my
watching it
god.
again. Like he's very much like overly blunt.
Yeah.
Maybe it comes from growing up a Vikings fan. I don't know. But I understand his writing. And yeah, I think he was a little harsher than I was. It's not the worst thing I've ever watched. It was just like a pointless 40 minutes. And it's Star Wars. You can't have a pointless 40 minutes.
Oh my god, I can't believe we're talking about this. Like 40 years like of waiting for this, and I know when he showed up in The Mandalorian, we were all super
We were
stoked.
collectively lost our shit because it was incredible.
Yeah, because when we saw his image, we're like, "Holy shit!" And I remember everybody on. I just remember social media like people were trying not to spoil it, but they were like, "Oh my god, is that who I think it is?" You saw that in your timeline, like, "Is that who I
Yes.
think it is? Holy shit! Oh my god, it's him! Oh my god, we're going there!" And we got a good story out of him. I
Yeah,
just,
like, and it was from the jump
uh,
too, because the episode 1 is a teaser. It's not Boba Fett. It's just Timothy Oliphant being Timothy Oliphant.
yep, 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 yep.
But end of that story, on a sand dune with a gaffy stick and a robe, Tamara Robinson, Boba Fett. Fuck. Like, and
That
then
was
the
awesome.
build up to Boba Fett's appearance was perfect.
Yep.
And then they executed an incredibly cool action sequence, just murking stormtroopers.
And we got Slave One, which everybody's been
We
clamoring to
got the
see Slave One
seismic
again.
charge, right?
Seismic
Like taking
charges.
out TIE fighters, like perfection. and then turn to his show and it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, let's see. I'll give it another episode. Let's see
Yeah,
what
like
happens.
I'll
But
see
it's
what
just
happens,
like,
but again, it just feels like why? Much like Matrix Resurrections. Why?
yeah. Yeah.
Like, come on. I know you know Star Wars fans are gonna watch whatever crap you shovel at them, but come on.
Hey, man, I have Cobra Kai tomorrow, okay? Don't bum me out. Cobra
Hey,
Kai's
Cobra
tomorrow.
Kai, all the reviews are like solid 7 to 8.5. Like,
Ugh, God.
you know, like that's good. Like that's
Yeah.
like anyone that wants to rag on a 7 of a show can go ahead and fuck off because
Well,
seven's good,
it's a meta. It's a very meta.
and that's gonna
So
hit differently for
eh,
various different people.
yeah, exactly.
But this clearly has struck a chord of
Yeah,
across a lot of different spectrums.
yeah. I
Speaking
mean,
of
it's
Boba
like
Fett,
you guys have botched Boba Fett. That's not good.
like
That's not
that is
good.
like the sin of, like I was saying, the sin is that they fucked up the fight sequences in
Yeah.
Resurrections. The sin is that they've made Boba Fett uninteresting.
Oh God.
Like, how? I don't know what you did, where you fucked up, but you did. Like,
In the extended universe, like all of the stories, people loved Boba Fett in the
the
books.
whole thing
Like
about him becoming the Mandalore, right? Like,
the
which is where they're
Mandalorian. Yeah,
taking the Mandalorian. Still cool, like incredible. And now they're giving that all to Pedro Pascal, which is fine because he's awesome.
yeah,
His character's fantastic. But like, Boba Fett's got to do some cool shit.
yeah,
And clearly, they're setting up the mayor as an antagonist. But like, we don't meet him. We don't know why Boba did having Boba know who the mayor is and have a beef with him. Way more interesting.
yeah.
Have him all like just Boba getting mad because he had to pay tribute or whatever. That's that's not interesting to me. So
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was gonna end with like the flashback with the Tusken Raiders and like the people the whole family he's with gets wiped out by Bib Fortuna, just randomly, and that sets him off. I can understand that, but then again, we still have 5 years, so
yeah,
we have to cover 5 years. So it's a little early. I know I'm
it's
jumping the
early,
gun
but it's
there,
a
but
show. Early
yeah,
matters,
yeah.
right? Like
Hey,
movies
look,
can get away
and
with setup because you're watching it all at once.
yeah,
Weekly releases show you can't.
pilots do matter. Pilots do
Yeah,
matter. I
one of my
mean,
one of my
some of the. Go ahead.
my favorite pilot of all time, or at least one of them, is A. Chuck, B.
Okay.
Person of Interest. Both of them
Okay.
completely table set everything. All the players, main conceit of the show, and like the tone. I got none of that from this.
Yeah. Not enough table setting. Not enough.
Yep. Who knows? Maybe they'll get there. I don't have high hopes. But anyway, we are right around an hour 10,
Yep.
hour 12 of this episode, Wafer number 32. It's been a lot of us talking to John about some nerdy shit. I'd like to thank everyone who's here live at twitch.tv/MrWartburg. Remember, if you're watching or listening after the fact, you can head over there, drop a follow, and watch our podcasts live. We have the VOD live if you're on audio over there. And we'll be streaming at least once every other week on like various different things we want to talk about. Like Peacemaker's coming up, Expanse season finale. Might see about getting noobs in here and ranking us some Halo games. Plus, we got some food shit to do. It's going to be a good time. So look forward to some of that stuff in 2022. Stick around if you're watching live. We got episode 33 on tap. It's going to be a shorter one. We're going to be ranking our top 5 movies and top 5 shows from 2021. So get your lists ready if you're live because we're going to take yours during that show as well. Any closing thoughts, Fusion?
No, man. Just it's always fun. This year blew by, but at least there was some good content along the way, and I can't wait for next year.
Heck yeah, man.
2022's got a lot of good stuff
2022.
lined
And
up.
we don't even know when The Boys is coming. And ooh.
Oh man, and Invincible season 2. Come on, man.
And
Come
maybe
on.
Harley Quinn season 3.
Oh god,
Right?
so
Like,
much.
come on.
Just so much. Come
It's
on.
going to be dope. It's going to
Yes.
be dope. So,
Moon Knight. I'm gonna call it now. Moon Knight is gonna be the show of the year, though.
okay. That's a take. I will clip that. That's a
Clip
take.
that. Moon Knight's going to be the show that everybody loves.
Okay, that's definitely a take for 2022. So thanks everyone for watching and listening. We'll see. Hopefully, you have a good holiday season and the start of your new year, and we'll see you in 2022. Peace.
Happy New Year, everybody.